Hello my friends, and welcome back to the next Divide and Conquer version 5 faction overview, this week with the dwarves of Khazad-Dûm. Now for a couple of announcements, the reason for there not being videos the past 2 weekends, if you hadn't seen my community post, is that I was out of the country in Brazil, and after coming back from traveling, I was both very tired and fatigued. I didn't feel like I could do a recording that week, and additionally I had somewhat of a cold going on, so my voice was a little out. So I just felt like it would be best just to take a break after I came back from vacation. But here we are now, and there shouldn't really be any other interruptions in the targeted weekly uploads, since right now I'm just at my normal daily or weekly routine, I guess you could say. So we're back to that, and you may have noticed there are some differences on the screen, and that is because there has been a hotfix which adds a new launcher to Divide and Conquer version 5. From this launcher, you have a couple of different startup options, such as using the alternate textures, which I have applied here. These are from the AGO submod, and I myself, I'm kind of partial towards the classic Divide and Conquer look, but you can see how they are here. If you've seen anyone play an AGO Let's Play, like I know Izzy does a lot of those, or if you've played AGO yourself, then this is all familiar to you. The other options include toggling on the running javelin animation so that when you have javelin units and they throw, they will do a little run forward. The other options include permanent arrows, so arrows when they're on the battlefield will not despawn after they've been shot. They will remain on the ground, which is something that I really like. I think it adds a lot of atmosphere to the post-battle scenes. You can also do what I've done and skip the Khazad-Dûm expedition. So instead of starting in Erebor and doing the classic script where you either go north through the Anduin Vale or through Mirkwood, you can skip that entirely now and just simply start in Khazad-Dûm. Now, we'll talk about that start because you do not keep your access to the starting unit of Dragon Slayers that you would traditionally have otherwise. So you now just have Balin with 2 volunteers, 2 sentries, and Lord Owen with 2 dwarven travelers. So you may or may not have a smaller force than if you had just manually come down here. Depending on how well you can do your battles, you may or may not have more dwarves than this. But this is the current start, and I am partial to this. I've done the script probably a half a dozen times or so, and it's to me, it's always been the one barrier towards playing Khazad-Dûm. I'm not a big fan of that script. It's like you can play it a couple of times, you get it, and I'd rather just have just start me off in the city, or I guess in the mountain, and let me just play like it's regular Total War at that point. That's just me, but if you guys obviously want to play with that script, you can just make sure that that's not toggled on the current launcher settings, and there will probably be more settings in the future to that launcher, so keep an eye out as more updates are released. So going on into the dwarves of Khazad-Dûm, how do they fit compared to the other dwarves, such as those of Erebor and Ered-Luin? Well, Khazad-Dûm has a very heavy focus on fielding the heaviest of dwarven infantry. So you'll have the most heavily armed dwarves. You, of course, have access to the mithril mines, and you have pretty much the wealthiest settlement in the game here at Khazad-Dûm, being that you have mithril mines, which give you a ton of money, as well as tier 3 mining here with all of the gold resources and everything else that's going on in this neck of the wood. So for your starting generals, of course, first of all, you have High Lord Balin. Balin, of course, being a member of the expedition to Erebor with Thorod's company, and then he eventually set out to reclaim Khazad-Dûm. So Balin is alive at the start of the game, of course. He has some very powerful traits. His biography giving him extra movement, command, actually like twice command there, some for attacking, 8 hit points, personal security, troop morale. He is it's a very strong biography. Those 8 hit points are insane. Balin is very hard to kill. Him and Owen have the same special ability here, Stubbornness of the Dwarves. In my opinion, one of the weaker abilities. Just gives you a temporary fatigue reduction, though at the cost of permanent increased fatigue afterwards. It also locks your morale and rallies your troops, but your dwarves, and they're never going to rout anyway, especially if Balin is your commander. You're not going to ever really face a situation where a dwarf is running and you need to rally them. That may only ever happen if you're fighting a battle with a captain, and there's like a lot of fear effects, like maybe poison arrows from goblins or fear-inducing troops. That's like the only time I can think of you actually having casualties that run away. But with Balin as your leader, expect your army to fight to the death. And if his 8 hit points from his biography weren't enough, he has the Mithril Coat for another 5. So Balin, incredibly, incredibly tanky. And his bodyguard, it is unique to him. It is the Balin's Guard there. 11 attack, 36 defense. They are incredibly, incredibly, incredibly powerful. One of the better bodyguards in the game. And I have auto manage on, it would seem. Let's just turn that off, even though it's not going to matter from here on out. Lord Owen was changed so that he now has his own bodyguard of Khazad-Dûm Reclaimers. So you have the Axe Throwers here, who I don't believe have melee armor piercing. I could be wrong on that. I went through at some point and added those descriptions to a lot of the units, but I can't remember if the Khazad-Dûm Reclaimers have melee AP or not. But Lord Owen, same special ability as Balin. He should have the Stubbornness of the Dwarves. And then he's got a standard retinue of the Dwarven Axe, Dwarven Shield for extra hit points at command, the Helmet for even more hit points, the Mithril Ring being your faction heir item, so pass that down to whoever you want to have be the next heir, and he also has some royal armor here, so just giving him even more hit points. So Lord Owen, great general, him and Balin are very powerful. So that is it for your starting generals. You also have Ori the Dwarf, another member of the expedition to Moria and the expedition of Thorin's company. Of course, having his own biography, personal security, not like it really matters for a diplomat. But he does have Ravens of Erebor for extra line of sight, a pony for extra movement speed, and he has the Book of Marzabul, which adds to his diplomatic influence. And he's just really here for additional flavor here. So it's nice to have Ori in the company. That is it for your starting characters, and of course your starting settlements. You only have Khazad-Dûm at the start. You do have one little fort here just down the river, which is nice to have. Khazad-Dûm does have the Chamber of Marzabul, which will reduce your retraining costs for any units that are retrained here, which is a nice upgrade. It also has the Bridge of Khazad-Dûm, which is just going to give you extra trade, economy, and free upkeep slots. Other starting infrastructure includes the Pipe Hall, Barracks, Practice Range. You have a pub for your culture, the inn, and the dirt path. So it's decently well developed at the start. If you do the expedition playthrough, expect a few more buildings here and there, as the goblins will have turns to actually start developing this place. So that's pretty much it for Khazad-Dûm. I guess we'll talk about the big part, and that is the mining income. Because we have the mithril resource here, the mining complex will give you almost 3,000 gold per turn, plus the flat 275 for being a dwarven nation. The mines also give you more population and culture as a dwarven nation. And then once you have the second tier, I believe, yes, the mining network, you can build the mithril mines for another flat 2,400 income per turn and additional culture, even though it's not really going to matter. Your culture is actually pretty solid at turn 1. I guess now we're at turn 2 with the expedition skip. We're at like 50% dwarven, so you're not really going to have any culture issues going on here. Next, we'll talk about other military buildings. Of course, Tier 1 barracks will give you Khazad volunteers and sentries. The Tier 2 guard barracks will add your first Legion units, being the Shield Guard, Hammer Guard, and Deeping Guard. Finally, the Army barracks will add the Khazad-Dûm Guardians and Reclaimers in the Khazad-Dûm regions only. Also, the 1st Legion and the Sons of the Fallen, which I believe are locked to only Misty Mountains and other northern mountain settlements. I don't believe they're available everywhere. Outside of that, you of course have your standard catapult maker for the dwarves, giving you dwarven catapults, and Tier 6 smithing here with the Hall of Alley, which will give you the mithril chainmail. So here in Khazad-Dûm, the Hall of Alley actually goes up an additional tier than it would anywhere else, giving you the mithril chainmail, and that's just because of the mithril mines being in this region. So you get a nice little boost there, and you don't need to. It used to be you had to build like a Tier 7 smith. You no longer need to do that. I don't remember when that was changed. It might have been a while now, but I remember there used to be a 7th tier smithing just for mithril, but now it is currently in the Hall of Alley. And I believe that was a version 5 change. I don't know if that was in version 4.5 or not, but to be honest, I don't play much Khazad-Dûm. I'm more of a Erebor and Eredluin player, especially Eredluin. I like the pike and shot playstyle of them. Outside of that, you of course have pretty much unrestricted construction, only Tier 2 farms for being a dwarven nation, Tier 3 roads, Tier 5 of the Merchant's Quarter, and your other unique building being the Hall of the Seven, which is something I would recommend getting very early on in your campaign just because of the sheer versatility of units you get. You get Eredluin Militia and Eredluin Pikemen, Erebor Infantry, King's Axes, and Blacklock Engineers. So this is a great building to build earlier on if you're okay with your, waiting a little bit on the mines. I would say get the Hall of the Seven, maybe after your Stoneworkers Hall, get that first, go into a Hall of the Seven, and now you've got all of these extra recruitment options that don't have any cultural requirements. They're a bit slow to recruit, but they will help you, because outside of that, all you've got right now are Sentries, Travelers, and Volunteers at a 12-turn replenishment time. So it takes a little while to get things rolling with Khazad-Dûm. The Hall of the Seven will definitely help you out on that front. And then that's pretty much it for the buildings and infrastructure. Of course, being the dwarves, you get a unique building in Mount Gundabad if you take that. But that's really it that's going on here. So as for Rebel expansion, well, obviously you're going to want to take Khazad-Dûm West. Now at turn 1, actually a very weak army. Balin could almost solo everything here, maybe not Chieftain Uglag, but Balin could take out a lot of this on his own. Just cheap goblins, Snaga, skirmishers, archers, goblin band, goblin infantry. Absolute garbage compared to the quality of your starting army. I mean, even your volunteers, 814 is a very solid stat spread there. Khazad sentries, decent spearmen. The goblins are not a threat, and you're going to want to control both of these regions. And I'd honestly recommend have Khazad-Dûm West be your military hub, Khazad-Dûm East here being your mining economy hub, because it makes so much money, easily over 10,000 gold a turn. I believe you can even get it to like maybe even 15,000 or more with all the trade buildings, the mines, and a solid governor. Aside of that, for Rebel expansion, you do have options to take Erubi over here in the, I guess this is the Gladden Field, so you can take that. It is a dwarven skinned settlement there. Beyond that, Zagkala in the north, Goblin Town is another option to your far north. And then beyond that, just directly west, Anon and Arad, Buranost, and Ostin Athel. Your primary enemies in the early game will just be the goblins, and then from there, your only real other threat would be Dunland. And you could either ally with Dunland or try to take them out. Byrig is also a wealthy settlement, so it's a nice place to take for additional income. To the far north, you may eventually throw against arms against Gundabad here, and it would be worth it to take Gundabad for the Hammers of Gundabad and just having other mountainous settlements. But really, your main early game goals are going to be to quell the Goblins of the Misty Mountains, secure a power base here, and from there, the world is your oyster to do as you wish, but the Goblins will be your first and foremost enemy. Now, as for other scripts to talk about, at around turn 57 or so, you will be flagged to send Balin to the Mirror, which is just right outside of the settlement. He will be crowned as the High King of Moria, or Khazad-Dûm. And then you will want to have a army with him, or a small retinue, as you will get ambushed by like goblin archers, goblin crossbows, and I believe some wargs. I can't remember the full army. Just don't send Balin alone, send him with some support. And then a few turns later, you will have to fight the Balrog. I forget the actual script time for that, but you will get a warning on that. You can send a diplomat to Bree to basically have Gandalf take the Balrog down for you, so you can avoid that laborious fight. Though it's really not too bad if you have the catapult maker by that point, ballistas, or you have Blacklock engineers. Balrog's not too terrible to deal with if you have all of those going on, especially Grape Shot. Grape Shot will just annihilate the Balrog because it is just incredibly overpowered. Of course, I will talk lightly about the script, though not much has changed. I mean, nothing's changed with the expedition script. You either go north through the Anduin Vale, which is a longer path with less battles, or you can cut through Mirkwood, which is a shorter path, but you're going to be fighting more. Do note that both paths you will get a battle that you can heal after, both being at Bjorn's Hall, or the other one I believe is at Erendolan over here. I think it's Erendolan. You fight those battles, and then you'll be given the option to replenish your troops. Well, not really the option, you're just benefited with that. So you can replenish your army and then continue moving on. I think there's arguments for either side. I'm more partial towards the Anduin route myself, because you have to fight a lot of trolls over here. And if you give the goblins a little more time, sure, they could raise more of a defense here, or they might leave Khazad-Dûm empty, and it gives them a few more turns to build up their own buildings over in Khazad-Dûm. So it's kind of pick your poison. I'm going forward, I'm just always going to use the skip the expedition submod option. Going forward, I'm not a big fan of that script, so that is pretty much it for the campaign map side of things. Kind of short here, so we will now move on to the battle map. And welcome to the battle map side of things. So relatively small roster. I think the smallest roster so far of any of the factions that I have done, and it's either going to be Khazad-Dûm or one of the Elven factions, but I think Khazad-Dûm takes the cake for smallest unique roster among all of the nations. And there's even one more unit here that isn't exactly unique to Khazad-Dûm, being the Dwarven Travelers, which I've talked about them before, but I'll also talk about them here in the Khazad-Dûm video. So we'll start with the infantry and then the missiles over here, and then that's basically it for Khazad-Dûm. So starting off with your general's bodyguard, these are the Zenith Guard. Zenith Guard, 10 attack, 34 defense, slower movement speed. They are incredibly heavy armored, 20 base armor. This is without any of their armor upgrades. It is incredible. Of course, one common theme in Khazad-Dûm's roster and across all the dwarves really is you want to watch out for units that have armor piercing, because they can actually take down your stalwart dwarves. So that's something to keep in mind. Of course, armor piercing is very powerful in medieval too. Zenith Guard, just all around solid. Expect your bodyguard, whatever your general is, just expect him to survive a very long time with a bodyguard like this, but don't expect them to do a ton of damage on their own. They're smaller retinue size at only 40 dwarves. Less than 40 dwarves kind of limits their actual offensive capabilities, but otherwise they are a solid bodyguard unit. Not a whole lot to really say about them, just great stats all around. Next up, we'll talk about the tier 1, and I've split this into kind of the tier 1 barracks, tier 2 barracks, the tier 3 barracks, and Balin's unit. So first of all, Dwarven Laborers, again another unit we've talked about with other Dwarven nations. Khazad-Dûm gets them as well. They used to be split, I think, version 4, like each of the Dwarven nations had their own, and then they all got mixed into one. So Dwarven Laborers, 4 attack, 9 defense, the weakest dwarf unit in the game. Either them or the Dwarven Travelers, they're kind of tied there in terms of offensive and defensive power. They're pretty fragile, but still, having a cheap armor piercing unit that you can get from anywhere that you just have a like level 1 blacksmith is quite useful, and they can do decent work just being like general killers. If you have heavy goblins to fight, you can flank them with the Dwarven Laborers, or if you have like a heavy enemy general you need to take down, Laborers can do some surprising amount of damage, though they will die quickly themselves. Next to them, the Khazad Volunteers. They are pretty much equivalent in stats to the Erebor Infantry, with 1 more defense being 1 more armor, but they do lose 1 attack point instead. So other than that, they're basically a mirror to the Erebor Infantry. Do note they don't have a shield wall or anything like that. I believe the Erebor Infantry do, which gives them kind of a 1-up on these guys. But, I mean, they're just solid, you know, reliable Dwarven Infantry. Very, very decent. These will probably be your bread and butter in your early game until you have supply lines for your more elite units. And lastly, in the tier 1 section, Khazad Sentries, a very well-armored spear dwarf. You don't see this really for any of the Dwarven nations outside of Khazad-Dûm. Kind of a unique niche they have here. They have a level 1 spear unit, I guess you could say tier 1. Both very, very respectable stats. 17 defense compared to what other human nations might have a spear unit of this caliber. Other human nations like Dale, like the Godrots, might be like 4 and 14. You're rocking 4 and 17 here with shield wall, very good morale, and of course all the advantages that come with spears. I do like the sentries, and I do like these big oval shields they've got going on, and what I always dub the Moot Keeper shields. I love that design. So decent units, and I believe they both get visual armor upgrades, though I have not featured them here, but they do, I believe, get a glow up later on, and it might be their unit card here. I'm not 100% certain. Well, that is it for the tier 1. Next out, we'll go to the tier 2, and you have the barracks. First of all, the Legion Shield Guard, a very, very visually impressive looking dwarven kind of testudo tower shield unit here. But only 5 attack, but 26 defense. That is incredible. And I do love the Legion markings on their shields here. I just think that looks really, really great. These guys, absolute line holders. They will hold for a very, very long time. Don't expect them to do too much damage offensively. 5 attack is pretty low, but on the defense, they are incredible. And that is kind of one thing with Khazad-Dûm. They are very heavy infantry and very defensive in melee combat, so they are pretty much the tanks of the 3 dwarven nations. Next to them, the Legion Deeping Guard, giving you a more offensive option here. 8 attack, 4 charge, lowish charge, honestly, pretty low there. 23 defense, so less defense than the shields, but they are, or than the spears, but they are much better at actually dishing out damage. They'll also get the shield wall as well, so they can be very good pushing into units, and they have a different Legion symbol here, these different dwarven runes. I really like that look on them, and I just really like the whole Legion kind of aesthetic going on here, how all these units are called Legion something or the other. That's just one thing I do like about Khazad-Dûm, even though I don't necessarily care for their campaign too much. The Legion Deeping Guard, just your solid, very powerful dwarven infantry unit. Next are the Legion Hammer Guard. These guys are fantastic. 8 attack, they lose some defense going down to only 20, but they have excellent morale, armor piercing, 6 charge. They are your damage dealers at this tier. Send them against heavy infantry, send them against elves, send them against goblin bodyguards, send them against trolls. They will not disappoint. They are quite powerful. I love hammer units. I'm a big fan of anything that uses a big two-handed hammer, so I'm a little biased towards these guys. Honestly, I don't know what else I can really say. They're just a very powerful dwarven, two-handed shock unit. Even on the front line, they can do okay. Just keep them away from javelins and armor-piercing archers or crossbows are their biggest weakness. One thing you don't want to do is Khazad-Dûm. Your biggest counter, like the strongest enemy against you, is definitely Enedwaith. Enedwaith is just monstrous against dwarves, so that's your biggest weakness. Be careful if you fight Enedwaith. I'd recommend you don't. A volley of javelins from some Mordag fishermen and half of this retinue is just gone like that, so keep that in mind if you ever fight the fisher folk. They are quite dangerous with those throwing spears. Next off, the Khazad-Dûm Guardians. These guys requiring Khazad-Dûm itself, but they are unwavering. They do not rout from battle. 11 attack, 35 total defense, which is insane. And they also, I believe, these aren't Battle for Middle-earth. No, they are. I think these are the Battle for Middle-earth 2 voices carrying over here, which I do really like about the dwarves too. Khazad-Dûm Guardians also having a shield wall. They are just incredibly powerful. One of the better infantry units in the entire game, if not some of the best. They're definitely up there with stats like these. They're very limited, of course, only in Khazad-Dûm, but still, that is so much power. 11 attack, 35 defense. That is so much. Their only real weakness would be armor-piercing enemy units, so artillery would be their one concern. Don't let them get shot by artillery. Watch out for axemen rear charging them. But even then, 6 shield and 20 armor, even against like missiles, like armor-piercing missiles, they're gonna withstand a lot of that incoming damage. Even like accurate armor-piercing javelins of Enedwaith, they'll be okay at taking those. They're still gonna die, they're gonna take casualties, but they will take it relatively okay with those incredible stats. Those are the Khazad-Dûm Guardians. Now, next to the next unit with them at the last tier here, the 1st Legion, a very powerful, super heavy pike unit. 8 attack, 25 defense, and they inspire your own units. Not like that's really even needed. They're just an incredibly powerful, available anywhere pike unit. Now, not the strongest pike unit in the game. That definitely goes to probably the Arid Luin pikes, the Balerian Honor Guard, but 1st Legion are definitely up there in terms of raw power and defensive capabilities. And you gotta love like how they have like a little axe head at the top of their pike here. I like that detail. I don't think it's really like wieldable. I don't think they could use it like an axe, but it's kind of fun. I like that. It's interesting though. Kind of looking at it, looks like someone just jerry-rigged like an axe guard of Erebor's axe to the end of the pole shaft and then put a spear into the top of it. It kind of looks like it was just done that way, but hey, you know what? I can't do any of that modeling. That's not within my skill set, nor do I really ever plan on being interested in doing modeling, but I do like those funny little details there. Our last dedicated infantry unit, Balin's Guard with custom voicings. Also, I've given him the armor upgrade here, so this is with the mithril armor. Outside of this, he just has some more travel gear equipped. Doesn't show it in the script here. 9 attack, 39 defense. This is incredibly, incredibly high. And they inspire nearby troops, and they're effective against armor. Balin's Guard is incredibly powerful, and Balin is going to be an absolute beast in your campaign. I mean, him alone, I take it back. I think Balin's Guard alone could solo Khazad-Dûm West, given High Chieftain Uglag, a bunch of Snaga and Goblin infantry. I think you even throw in the garrison units, like the 4 or 5 units of like Goblin defenders. Balin is probably going to solo that whole army. He is just so powerful. That armor piercing is very, very strong, and my biggest threat to playing any Goblin campaign is like, how do I deal with Balin? My answer has always just been a lot of mountain orc hunters and a lot of artillery. Whittle this bodyguard down with ballista, try to get him as low as possible, and then just surround him with armor-piercing axes. Balin can go down, but it probably takes him a good 20 minutes of being in combat with armor-piercing units before he himself will ever go down. So the only thing you may ever worry about, the only thing that may ever actually reasonably kill him in your campaign, is if you get very unlucky and a catapult shot nails him right in the head. That will be the end of Balin if that ever happens in your campaign. And those are the Balin's Guard. Incredibly powerful. Of course, only available to Balin. You can't train any of those. Now we'll go into the skirmishers. For that, first of all, the Dwarven Travelers, 5 attack, 3 missile, 10 defense, average accuracy. Nothing too special going on here. They're just an okay archer unit. As the dwarves, you're not really known for your archers, except for, unless you play as Arid Lewin, and then you're known for your crossbows. Not a whole lot I can say about the Dwarven Travelers. They will be useful fighting against the goblins, and maybe if you fight the elves, if you decide to do that, they maybe could have some use there. Just because elves in general have lower armor, at least in the earlier tiers, so you can do some damage at range with the Dwarven archers, but outside of like fighting goblins or shooting at wargs, not super apparent. Your real strength is just in your melee forces. Next to the Dwarven Travelers, right behind them at the next tier, the Hethyglir Beast Hunters. They are the direct upgrade. 9 melee attack, which is AP in melee. 5 missile attack, which is solid. 7 charge and 17 defense. They do have only the same missiles and accuracy. They're the same as the Travelers, just with a little more range. So they're not incredibly accurate, but they are much better in melee. And that 5 missile attack is another boost as well. So they do get, you know, they're definitely better archers. If you have to pick one, go for the Hethyglir Beast Hunters, but they are better in melee than they are at shooting. It's unfortunate they don't have like higher accuracy or not. I think it would be cool if they did have like high accuracy, being the one Dwarven archer unit that could, you know, non-crossbow, I mean, with decent archery. I think that they should have higher accuracy, but that's just my opinion. Lastly, our last missile unit, the Khazad-Dûm Reclaimers, 9 melee, 13 missile attack, and 27 defense. Do note that they wield throwing hammers, and they wield a hammer in melee, but I'm pretty sure the projectile is still just throwing axes. I don't believe they actually throw their hammers. We can check that in the battle here, and I might as well just get it rolling. We can check out our next enemy. You can try to figure out who that is, and I'll actually play this full battle. We'll play high and tight. So let's move up slowly, shall we? Everyone, like that. Zenith Guard in the front. Travelers, we probably want to have you guys go into a wide formation. We're going to get shot here by the enemy archers. That is okay. Now we have some archers here. Our enemy for next week's episode are the Elves of Lorien. So they are next to be fought by our forces. Let's try to defend against the cavalry coming in. Khazad volunteers, Khazad sentries, please get into a shield wall. Gotta watch out for those. Hethyrben coming in. Oh, we're gonna get charged over here by the Hethyrben. That is fine. It happens. We're gonna move the Reclaimers up. Legion Shield Guard running into Hethyrben, the elite Lorien cavalry. Slowly. Not much of a charge, actually, now that I think about it. Leaden Swordsman about to go toe-to-toe with the Zenith Guard. Fun stuff here, dwarves and elves. A conflict for the ages, that's for sure. Let's get the Legion Deacon Guard in here. We're actually getting a little messed up in melee right now. That's okay, though. We can try to shoot at their Gervaleg in the back so we're not getting shot. I gave them a lot of archers, didn't I? That's a bit scary. Yeah, let's bring up Balin's Guard. Legion Deepen Guard. Come on, charge the swordsman. There we go. Don't let them charge into our lines here. I'd really like to get the throwing axes in range here, but it's going to be tough. Now let's throw a few volleys into the Gurdon, maybe not the best target. I'm going to confirm if is it throwing axes or is it hammers now. I'm pretty sure it's still throwing axes. Come on. Throw, please. Yep, it is still the throwing axes. I think they'll get some good damage here. See if we can move up a little bit closer. They're going to take all of the arrows, which is fine for now. We're going to try to push into the enemy here. Well, let's get into that back line. Fallen's Guard. Gonna get you guys to flank. Uh-oh. Oh, can we throw anything in these ends? I think they're gonna get into melee first. That's not good. Alright, let's have Ballin try to help fight the Ents here. And those Ents are gonna wreck the Khazad-Dûm Reclaimers. That's unfortunate. Here, bring the first Legion forward, please. Legion Shield Guard, get to the back. Get to the back. Do I have any other units? See, my army is so small here. 36 to 22, we are winning. We are incredibly heavily armored. I need to get these dwarves out of here. Dude, we've beaten a lot of the Outgrowth Sentinels here, or no? We've killed Gervaleg. We have not killed Sentinels. Come on, guys. How are the Ents doing? Ents fighting Balin's Guard. Balin's Guard, they can fight okay against the Ents. They'll be able to tank for a while, but it will be a losing battle. We have March Wardens in the back still firing in. Barrio y Ingoleth. They are also still firing at our dwarves. Balin's Guard taking some serious damage here. I might be throwing them away up against the Ents here, but hey, someone has to fight the Ents. Someone has to be the one to do it. Legion Hammer Guard in combat here. Khazad-Dûm Reclaimers. Let's get into a shield wall. Still fighting against the Gervaleg, that's okay. Try to push into the Swords Masters. And if I can get a few of these Reclaimers out of melee here, I'll try to shoot into the Yavanna's Chosen with their long blades here, or into the Ents. I think some Ents have gone down. We made it into the back line with the Shield Guard. They're taking all of the arrows just fine. First Legion, let's have you guys push up against the Galadrim Swordsmen now. Melee, another Ent is going down though. That is the power of Balin's Guard. Still incredibly powerful, but I don't think the Reclaimer is going to be able to do much more shooting, unfortunately. We might be able to get them to fire into Yavanna's Chosen. Or we might be able to get some Ent shots now.
Only half our force remains.
Khazad sentries here not doing well against the Galadrim guards. We are making some progress against the Galadrim swordsmen. It is a brutal battle. Albrus Sentinels, stop those, please. Legion Hammer Guard fighting the Gurdon, maybe not the best target, but the Khazad-Dûm Guardians being so incredibly powerful, they just cut through the elves like it's nothing. I think are we actually throwing javelins now? Please tell me we are. Or axes, I should say. No, they appear to be having some issues here. We'll try to switch target to the Galadrim archers. Might as well use what we can. Unfortunately, we have been compromised over here with our shield guard. They got flanked, so they might not be long for this world. That is okay. This is the thing. We hang in there for a very long time. We keep on fighting. We do not give in. The Ents are being quite annoying. There's a bunch of Galadrim archers, but maybe we can get a few throwing axes over here. Start picking them out from range. Still firing at the Gervaleg out here too. And we're getting fired at by Barrio, which is not great either. You guys are not even shooting anymore. That is unfortunate. I think Yavanna's Chosen, are they armor piercing? They are, so I might need to actually be targeting them. We actually might not have this. We've lost 73% of our forces. I have once again given the enemy too many tools to beat us. Maybe if I had some cavalry or didn't give them so many strong units. I think it was yeah, there goes our general. It was a bit of an unbalanced fight. I mean, Ents, Yavanna's Chosen. Those Ents, I've only killed 2 of them so far, which is really unfortunate. But we still have 93 Khazad-Dûm Guardians. And we'll now get a few axes in the back of the Yavanna's Chosen. If anyone can do it, it is going to be the Khazad-Dûm Guardians. Let's try to deal with those Gurdenen. We still have some archers firing. Those, yeah, Legion Shield Guard got surrounded. They're not long for this world. Come on, you guys finish off the Gurdenen, please. You have incredible attack. Come on, Khazad-Dûm Guardians. They're literally my only hope for this battle. 11 attack, 35 defense. Can they keep us in this fight? I do not know. I really do not know. And there's still 7 Ents remaining, but we are fighting them with the pikes, which maybe we should have done earlier. We're able to get multiple attacks on them. It is still quite brutal. They're throwing a few javelins in the Yavanna's Chosen, getting a few axes in there, a few kills here and there. The Yavanna's Chosen, definitely nothing to laugh at there. Come on, guys, push in. Beat the Galadrim archers. There's only 82 of them. You have 81 Guardians here. But we're just getting peppered by those elves in the back there, which is unfortunate. We have taken down a few more of the Yavanna's Chosen. I think our Legion Guard are going to go down to the Ents, but they might be able to take down a few more.
The enemy are
We're now in melee with the Yavanna's Chosen. We have no choice. Going into battle, halberds and glaives versus my hammers. It is definitely getting worse. We are definitely winning against the Galadrim archers over here. We're taking so many archer volleys right now. And we still have the Barrio Yimgalaith to fight, more Galadrim swordsmen. I think we know how this one is going. But can I take out the Ents? Can the Ents, will they go down? Can we even beat the Yavanna's Chosen? No, they're gonna absolutely annihilate us here. Oh, I did not give myself the tools. Maybe I needed some catapults. Okay, let's get into a high and tight formation. Maybe not get shot so much by the elite elven archers who are whittling down our formation here. Here come Galadrim guards. That's probably it for us here as the Guardians get completely surrounded. So, Khazad-Dûm, not invincible. And when you're fighting the elite of the elven nations, yeah, you kind of... I'm doing this a lot lately. I mean, I lost against the High Elves, I've lost against Lorien with the Dwarves. What am I doing, guys? But the Guardians will fight to the death. I wonder how many kills they'll have at the end of this battle. Probably not too many, because there really weren't a lot of elves to fight either. Get to the end here. Those Ents, man, they are so incredibly powerful. But at least next week I get to talk about all these units in Lorien's roster, and maybe I'll lose with them again next week too. We'll see. I even outnumbered the elves and I lost horribly. I don't know if that was a micro issue or a skill issue, or maybe I just didn't try hard enough. I mean, I didn't have like any catapults or any cavalry of my own to really deal with this. The Guardians got 145 kills. Everyone else did awful. Even Balin's guard only got 19 kills, but he was fighting the Ents, so a tragic loss for the Dwarves of Khazad-Dûm, but I definitely gave my enemy too many strong units. I gave myself one of every unit. I gave my enemy all of their elite units, so a little bit of unbalancedness there. Until the next episode, my friends, hope you are enjoying Divide and Conquer version 5, and until next week, farewell.